Hi, I'm Jimmy Daly, and today I'm here with Dave Fries, an estate planning attorney just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we're going to talk about family meetings in estate planning. So Dave, what exactly is a family meeting in estate planning?
Jimmy, thank you for asking. When people finish their estate planning, a lot of them fold up the binder, put the documents in the safe deposit box, and they're done. But something that affluent and successful and wealthy families have been doing for generations, and in fact it's one of the ways that they preserve wealth, is that they schedule family meetings when they've completed the estate planning process, so that the children and grandchildren, when it's appropriate, can be coached, and so that they can have the estate plan explained to them, and that they can have the strategies that they could use to optimize building, keeping, and preserving wealth explained in a way that makes perfectly good sense. So some of my most successful clients don't just pack it up and put it away and assume everybody will understand it when they pass away. They will gather together either for a very short meeting after they've finished their estate planning, or at a holiday when everybody's home, or at a location where they're hosting a vacation or an event. They will host a meeting that I'll facilitate, and we can have one or more professionals there depending on how complicated the situation is and how much benefit the family is going to get from it, to explain much of what's in the estate plan. What happens when that's done properly is that people don't fight because they know what they're expecting. They understand what their obligations are, and they understand how to protect themselves. I'll give you a quick example, is that a lot of my clients are concerned. They don't want a son or daughter to get married or divorced, or to be in a bad relationship that ends with that ex-husband or wife or that ex-partner walking off with that child's inheritance. They want to protect it. They build things into their estate planning to protect it, and then they explain to their children how to use that to optimize it to their benefit and for the benefit of their grandchildren. So that's in a nutshell what a family meeting is. It's an opportunity to get the family together, to pass on values, to pass on strategies, to explain how it's going to work in a way where it does work effectively without the costs of fighting a disagreement or a lack of understanding what the plan means.
Dave, that's a lot of information, and everyone might not feel comfortable with that. So how much information is too much?
Many people, when they think of a family meeting, say, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to talk to my children or my grandchildren, my heirs, about how much wealth I have, primarily because I'm afraid that if they know, it will discourage them from working. And that's a valid concern. However, family meetings can present as much or as little information about your financial situation and about your planning as you want. But what we almost always find is there's a place and there's a point where the senior generation who's doing the planning feels comfortable releasing at least this much information. There's also a place, especially in blended families, for describing what's going to happen to a certain extent. In some cases, clients are comfortable saying who the executor and trustees are going to be. In others, they just explain these roles. How much information is released about the finances depends on a lot of factors. How much you're comfortable with is the first one, but also how old are the children? How old are the grandchildren? What are they capable of hearing and understanding without having a negative effect? But family meetings can be very, very useful in preventing disputes. They can be very, very useful, especially in family businesses, and passing on values and strategies and business information, because you don't tell your children everything when they turn 17 or 18 or 21 or 25. Teaching your children what they need to know about preserving, protecting, and passing on wealth, and building and preserving a family business, that information is usually doled out through time as it's appropriate for them to hear it. So the quick answer is, how much information you give at a family meeting is however much you're comfortable with. But it's almost always useful and beneficial and helps to make an estate plan even more effective to hold a family meeting.
Okay, Dave, now we have a pretty clear picture of what a family meeting is. Who should be present at a family meeting?
Again, it depends. Obviously, if you have adult children that are actively involved in a family business, it's probably important for them to be there. If you have adult grandchildren and they're a successor generation, they're going to play a role in that business. Or if you have a professional practice and one of your grandchildren has become a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant is going to be joining that practice, it's probably important for them to be there. Some of my clients break family meetings into multiple sessions where young people are taught certain things, older grandchildren and children are given more information, and the people who are going to be the executors or trustees are hosted for another session where they understand even more about what they're going to do. So who should be there and how much information they should get varies from family to family and from situation to situation. But we almost always want to have the adult children and grandchildren who are going to play a role in the family finances, family business, and preserving and protecting the wealth.
Dave, this sounds, as you describe it, pretty expensive. Can you tell us what the appropriate cost should be for a family meeting?
Family meetings can cost anywhere, in my experience, from a few $100s to $25,000 to $50,000. And prospective clients might hear that and roll their eyes and say, my goodness, why would I ever spend that much money? You can accomplish some of the goals less expensively. Often, if you have a family meeting moderated by an attorney and it's going to last an hour or two following your signing of the documents, that might only cost a few $1,000s. But many of my clients prefer to have a meeting where different age group people are given different information that's appropriate for them at their age and appropriate depending on how involved they are in a family business or a professional practice. Some of my clients like to have all the advisors there. They like to have their financial advisors there, their insurance advisors there. They like to have the accountants there and the lawyers. And we'll facilitate those meetings so that all the information is presented in a way that's easy to digest and understand and use, because these family meetings are designed to avoid problems and expense, not to create it. Where we have multiple people and a facilitator over a day, for example, and a lot of clients like to host these events at a destination. You know, for example, you're going to host everybody at a historic hotel or resort. Part of the price that the family pays for you flying them out there and spending that time and having a great time together, that could be Disney World, or it could be San Diego, or it could be any destination. The price that the family pays is they've got to come to one or more of these meetings. And those could be expensive because obviously you might have multiple advisors there or appearing there using some of the technology that we use by video. But the real question for people is, what can I afford to pay and what are the benefits? If you have a family meeting that you pay $5,000 or $10,000 for, and it teaches your children how to protect and preserve their assets using trusts so that if they get married and divorced, they don't lose that money in a divorce. If they are a physician or a professional in a professional practice and they get sued, that asset is protected. That expenditure might end up saving tens to hundreds to millions of dollars, tens of thousands to millions of dollars. If you have a blended family and you hold a family meeting where you describe and explain what's going to happen so it doesn't come as a shock to people and they understand and you build consensus, that might save a challenge, which could save hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars in attorney's fees. So it's like anything else. You don't pay for what you're not going to get value for. But if you think that your family would really benefit from one of these, that they would have a higher level of protection from divorce and lawsuits, that there'd be less likely to be a dispute, that they would understand how to pick advisors or financial advisors and keep the fees lower, that small expenditure up front could save many, many, many times what you spent on a family meeting.
Now, Dave, this type of family meeting doesn't sound like it's for everyone. Can you tell us who it is for?
Jimmy, you're right. It is expensive. So typically, this is for families who have a net worth in excess of $5 million. Now, I will say sometimes if a client has a single child and they're going to leave them $2 or $3 or $4 million, and that child has reached adulthood, or they're making special provisions for these kind of protective trusts, it might pay. It might make sense to have a brief meeting with one person there or have the advisors with the child there. But typically, this is where we have one or more children, especially those involved in a family business or a closely held business, often involving real estate or some production, where it's really vitally important to be able to continue that on for multiple generations. And they need to understand both aspects of the business and how to preserve and protect wealth. But once you get much above 5 million, you have a net worth of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million, then the expense of this, which seems large on the face of it, can yield enormously valuable results. And where you have multiple children or maybe multiple generations involved in a business or protecting and preserving wealth, just by avoiding disputes and just by them understanding how to use the trust and how to hire advisors and how to benchmark them and make sure that they're really earning their money, that could save, again, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. So typically, you would see clients historically with a net worth in excess of $100 million doing this sort of thing. Now, because we can make it available using technology and a variety of other techniques. We can make it available and beneficial to clients that have a net worth of $5 million and above. It often makes sense for them. But certainly anybody that has a family business with multiple generations involved, they should consider this type of family meeting.
On the other end of the spectrum, Dave, can you tell us who it's not right for?
Sure. I mean, obviously, we're saying that if you have a net worth below $5 million, the cost of doing this might be prohibitive. Even there, though, what I would encourage clients and people doing planning that have a net worth of less than $5 million to do a very simple version of this. It's also not for people who are totally reluctant to release information. And there's nothing right or wrong about this, but some clients say, I'm not telling anybody anything about this. We do know that that can often cause trouble. It causes surprises. But if you're dedicated to not sharing information about your finances or about your estate plan in any way, shape, or form, this will make you uncomfortable. It's simply not for you. Sure, it might save your family a lot of grief and trouble and money down the road, but you have to feel comfortable with it. So it is not for you. Where somebody has a lot of net worth in a very simple structure, like a stock portfolio, many times they think it's not for them because they say this will be easy. But teaching a child how to protect and preserve that from all these risks, and how to hire the right advisors and fire advisors, and when and under what circumstances, and how to price it, that really could be for you. So a lot of people think that's not for me, and it might be. I would say it's less common for somebody who has only one child to go to these kind of elaborate lengths to educate them. I would also say that if you don't have a systematic understanding of your own business that you could explain and teach to children and grandchildren, it's probably not for you. You need to really get to that point where you've developed an understanding of what it is that you do and how you built your wealth. And most of the time, it's for people that have a clear sense of the values they want to pass on, because that's a side benefit of the family meeting, is if we're doing this the right way, we're teaching the children what's important and grandchildren what's important about building and preserving a business or wealth, and what your values are that hopefully they will carry on for you. So if you don't have a clearly articulated set, I have clients that come to me sometimes and say, I don't care what happens when I pass away. I'm going to do this to save some taxes, but other than that, I don't care. Well, then this isn't for you, because you're not going to feel like you're getting a return on the investment.
Dave, thanks so much for answering these questions for us today. If you're looking for more information about family meetings for your estate plan, check out paestateplanners.com.